Like, if I have to throw snowballs at someone's butthole in real life to defeat them, I think that may actually be easier. Really, that's just a Tuesday night for me anyway. Oh, come on! Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and welcome to another review from my personal vault of games. My name's Ed, and I'm your chauffeur on this limo ride to 64-bit hell today. If you're one of the 10 people that aren't friends or family who watch my From the Vault reviews, I normally take a look back at games from yesteryear that I remember fondly and go over what I liked and why they were notable. Being that this is 2020 and everything is severely jacked up, I decided to go the opposite direction for Thanksgiving and not just feature a game that has turkeys in it, but is itself a turkey. So gobble gobble, club members, because today I'm reviewing the one and only South Park on Nintendo 64. While I go over the finer points to this afterbirth of a game, keep in mind that this one is actually considered superior to the PlayStation 1 version. Like, it actually gets worse than this. To nobody's surprise, it was supposed to be called South Park Deeply Impacted, but then the name just got shortened to South Park. On the DVD commentary of the Starvin' Marvin episode way back when, Trey Parker himself had called it the crappiest video game and that he was bummed out about it. Because of that, they haven't agreed to very many South Park games since. That short list includes Chef's Love Shack and South Park Rally in 1999, and then we wouldn't see another game again until 2009 with the release of South Park Let's Go Tower Defense Play, and then Tennerman's Revenge in 2012 before the Stick of Truth and the Fractured Butthole years later. The game was not well received when it was first released back in December of 1998, which, I'm sure that's surprising, and it was right around the start of its second season. The big gaming websites mostly hated it. GameSpot gave it about a 1.4 out of 10, and at the time, IGN's one compliment in their review was that the game was just as funny as the Comedy Central series. Let's all take a moment to recognize that there was a time where IGN not only actually said this, but also there was a time where they did something other than shill for large publishers and virtue signal. So if you haven't played the game, which is sort of like saying you've never had chlamydia, you might be wondering what's so bad about it. Well, after playing through all I could stand of the game, the biggest thing I can say is that it's just a badly made game from the ground up. It's a first-person shooter, which in my opinion just doesn't fit with a setting like this, and on a technical level, it has so many things working against it that you're just stuck with something that I just don't see as enjoyable to anybody. Let's start at the beginning and just work our way in. When you fire the game up, you're treated to what's basically a shot-for-shot version of the show's opening, except in crummy 3D graphics, which even at the time I remember thinking that they weren't very good. You can mess around with the options once you hit start, but if you take too long, you actually get timed out and the game will restart. Now, I'm just going to focus on single player in this review because I honestly couldn't get anybody in my house to play multiplayer with me. That's how unappealing this looked. For what it's worth, you get access to a ton of characters from the show, and they've all got dialogue that they'll chatter with, which is charming at first, but repetitive after a while. It's got 4-player split screen, so if you're crafty, you can trick 3 of your friends to be miserable with you. I'm sure there's worse out there, but the draw distance in this game is probably the shortest I've ever seen. Like, I thought the game was still loading when I started the first level. So you feel like you're always in a fog and can't really see what's ahead of you. Thankfully, there's radar to help you with that, otherwise it'd be completely unplayable. The controls are very limited. You have 2 types of controls, one they call Turok and the other called Brown Eye, named after Turok's and GoldenEye 64's controls respectively. Both have inverted aiming. After over 20 years of my friends making fun of me for playing games with the Y-axis inverted and silently loathing me for having to change the controls every time we'd switch off controllers, I finally trained myself off of that. To see it again here made aiming really difficult, and the aiming snaps back to the center if you're playing with the Turok controls. So when you're playing a boss level later where you have to aim for a robot turkey's butthole and shoot at it while it's running around you, it's really hard to do. Like, if I have to throw snowballs at someone's butthole in real life to defeat them, I think that may actually be easier. Really, that's just a Tuesday night for me anyway. And that brings me to the levels themselves. The game takes place over 5 episodes with 3 levels each, and each one lasts way too long. Each episode is dedicated to one type of enemy, and you will kill tons of them before moving on to the next level. At best, the gameplay is boring. At worst, it is stupidly difficult due to the controls and the draw distance. In episode 1 itself, you'll fight wave after wave of turkeys, and then you'll fight big robot turkeys. Then you'll fight one really big robot turkey. There's nobody in the entire town other than the other 3 South Park kids you have to pick up in order to carry more weapons. Weapons which, by the way, consist of things like a snowball with P on it, a dodgeball, Terrence and Phillip dolls, even a cow launcher. The ammo is usually plentiful, but the aiming is so poor in this that you might as well just stick with the snowballs since you've got an unlimited amount of them. Other levels are a cow-themed level, a retard clone level, robots, and for some reason a killer toy level. Most of the enemies will rush you, and only a few actually shoot. Some of the toys toward the end of the game go all Linda Blair and spray barf, which is poison and will kill you really quickly. It doesn't help that the hit detection isn't great, and you can stand reasonably far away from the poison and you'll still get hurt from it. As far as the music and sound, it's really limited, and other than the opening sequence, the game plays one song on a loop in every level. Everybody has dialogue, however, as I mentioned earlier, it's repeated pretty often and gets old pretty quickly. The enemies are probably the worst, especially the turkeys and the cows. These things do not stop gobbling or mooing, and while you won't see them on the screen for a while because of the draw distance, you'll hear them long before they appear. Perhaps the olive on top of this turd sandwich is that you'd think a game like this would have a ton of bugs in it, but other than the game resetting at the main menu, I only encountered one other one, and that was toward the beginning when you need to kill all the turkeys to advance to a new area, and one turkey got stuck in a wall and just didn't appear, so I had to restart the game. So all of that added together makes for a pretty miserable game to play, at Thanksgiving or otherwise. Even at 17 years old when it released, I didn't think the game was necessary because I don't feel that South Park was ever really meant to be a toy commercial, and I don't think any of the games did the series any justice at all until The Stick of Truth and The Fractured But Whole, and that's because Matt and Trey wrote those themselves, basically making them an extension of the show. I still love South Park after all these years, and will be sad when it's gone, because its provocative humor hits everyone equally, and it's one of the last shows to still do that, and not just cater to one audience. And that's all I've got for today's walk down memory lane. Do me a solid and subscribe for more content, and if you enjoyed what you saw, give me a like. Have an awesome Thanksgiving, and we'll do this again soon. Congratulations! You're one of an elite few to make it to the end of the video. Reward yourself by hitting the round subscribe button in the middle, and then check out the other goodies I've got in the links next to it.